Hello everyone and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are making a rustic skillet apple pie. This is so delicious and I love this recipe because it's not fussy, it's not hard to do, so let's get started. So of course the first thing you want to do is prep your apples. Today I'm using about 4 pounds of ginger gold apples. Use whatever apple you like and go for a nice firm textured variety so that your apple stays more crisp in your finished product. After you've peeled your apples, you'll want to go ahead and core them and then cut them into nice even slices. I like to go slightly chunky on my slices, but if you prefer a thinner slice, that's perfectly fine. Just chop to your preference. At this point, set your apples aside and prepare your pie crust. If you're using a pre-rolled refrigerator crust, take it out of the fridge now, or if you're using a homemade one, this is where you will roll it out. I am using my pie crust recipe here and just lightly flouring my countertop so that I can go ahead and get that rolled out. If you would like to use my pie crust recipe, I will have a link for it in the description so you can check out that video. And we just want to get this lightly floured and rolled out to about the size of the top of our cast iron skillet that we're going to be using for the pie. This pie, I do not do a bottom crust on it, I just do a top crust. There is a way that you can do a bottom crust within your cast iron skillet and still do it similar to the way I'm doing, but I actually, since this is supposed to be a more rustic pie, just kind of something you throw together on a weeknight, I didn't want all the fuss of trying to do a bottom crust as well as a top crust, and of course you're saving some calories and carbs by doing just a single crust pie. So this is just a single crust that we're going to put on the top, but I like to have this ready before my apples are ready so that it's just ready, set, go. After my pie crust is all rolled out, I just set that aside, and in our cast iron skillet we are going to melt down 4 tablespoons of butter. Just a note on the cast iron, I like to use my deep cast iron skillet because it fits the apples so much better. You can use a lower walled skillet for this, a lower cast iron, but you'll find that you have some leakage from the apple pie when you put it in the oven, and it generally won't hold all of the apples until you've cooked some of them down. So if you have more of a Dutch oven style skillet, that is going to be a little bit better here. So I have gone ahead and just put all my apples in, and now I'm stirring them around just to get them nice and coated in that butter. You're almost sauteing them, not really because it's an apple, but you basically just want to get all of them nice and coated in that butter before we move on to the next step. So now we're going to go ahead and add in about half a cup of brown sugar. I don't use very much here because my apples are already pretty sweet. If you're using something like a Granny Smith, you might want to add maybe another quarter cup of sugar, just depending on how sweet you like your filling. And then I'm going to go ahead in and also add my seasonings, my spices. So I'm using about half a teaspoon of nutmeg, about a quarter teaspoon of allspice, and then about 2 teaspoons worth of cinnamon. Now, the amounts are really just up to what your personal preference is. This is supposed to be a rustic pie, so you don't have to get too hard and fast with making sure you have exactly the right amount. And if there's some spices that you'd like to have in there that I didn't add, something like clove or anise or even ginger would work really well in here. The fun thing with apple pie is you can just about do whatever you want. If you wanted to add some lemon juice or some vanilla extract, that would work. You could even do something like adding in raisins or dried cranberries in here to give yourself a little extra flavor. So you can really do what you want with it. After my apples are all coated, everything's mixed in, I let them cook down for a couple more minutes, but then I go ahead and turn off the heat and put my top crust on. And like I said, rustic pie, so I'm not really doing anything with the edges. I just want to let it crisp up and just pretty much be beautiful on its own. But you do want to make sure that you make some cuts in the top of your crust so that the juices from the apples cooking down are going to be able to escape and some steam's going to be able to escape there. And then after that, I like to go in with an egg wash because this is just going to make your crust nice and crisp and brown up really nicely on there. So your egg wash is just going to be one egg whisked up with about a teaspoon of water. And then I just use my little silicone brush here to go ahead and get all of my crust coated. And you should have your oven set to 425 degrees, so that is the temperature we're going to bake it at. I do recommend always putting your cast iron on a sheet tray in your oven just in case anything leaks out. With the deeper pan, it really doesn't, but it's still a good precaution. And then last step here, just gonna go ahead and put some Demerara sugar or like sugar in the raw on the top of it. That'll get nice and crispy and beautiful as well. And then this is gonna go in the oven for 40 to 60 minutes until the crust is all set and beautiful. And here is our finished pie. It's going to be so, so delicious. Just let this sit for a little while to cool. And yeah, cut it up and enjoy it, guys.